working on the podcast all the live long day. We've been working on the podcast to inform and to entertain. Can't you hear that theme song playing through your headphone cord? Can't you spare a couple dollars to give Grimerica support?
If you can work through that, then you can kind of see like reality and like these experiences for what they are. And I think bringing in that awareness kind of gets you to a different maybe level or something, or be able to see a little bit through the veil that other people can't see, you know?
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Lee Adams a little bit later, a little bit of lucid dreaming, stuff like that. I don't think we get into any astral projection and stuff, do we?
A little bit of astral battles. We talk about Greg Doyle's episode there that we did, one of my all-time favorite episodes, and, you know, lucid sort of healing.
I think he's blocked us.
Greg Doyle?
Is he
No, I don't think so.
Who are you thinking of?
What do you mean, who am I thinking of?
Who's the Daily Grail guy?
No, that's a different guy.
Okay. He has blocked us.
Well, we had Ben Grundy on Outlawed, so that's probably why.
No, he blocked us way before that.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, when we were booking it came up between Ben and I when we were booking the Outlawed show.
Right, yeah.
We were like, some of the people that blocked us, we were looking at it like badges of honor. Oh, I'm blocked by him too. Oh, I'm blocked by him.
Oh, it's unbelievable. This was a great chat, though. Taileaters, the Ouroboros is his...
Aurora Borealis?
No, Ouroboros, the Taileater. You know, the serpent eating its own tail? That's
I didn't know what that was.
Ancient mythology. That's what our episode art looks like for this show from Nap. Thanks, Nap. Looks great.
I didn't look at that yet. Oh, you know what? We never
fantastic.
mentioned Nap enough.
I know. We should talk about Nap more.
Yeah.
Nap does all our art. Every episode
I get messages all the time. I'm constantly telling people who does the art, who does your art, who does your art. Yeah. So huge shout out.
And lucid dreaming. It's interesting that we bring Nap up because Nap was interested way back with Meg Ryan and the lucid dreaming and the comics and all that. It's like that was one of the things that really connected us.
Lost bread.
Awesome.
I've
been dreaming lots lately, man. I don't know if it has something to do with this episode or what, but I'm starting to record them all. Got some recordings.
You know,
got my voice notes open at the bedside table. And I just pop in. I'm like, oh my God, try to remember the day. I'm like, I go, it's March 24th. I had another long dream about this and that. And
so you're at your 13 years sober?
13 years sober, yeah. We passed it. I passed it on the March 25th. Big day for me.
By my calculation, it's more like 2.5 since we got out of the igloo.
Yeah, I told you. The secondhand smoke doesn't count.
That's when I quit smoking weed in the studio, pretty much.
I saw you make some smart ass comment about that in the chat somewhere. I was going to pipe in, but I decided just to let you have it.
Because you're just as giggly and sound just as stoned.
There you go.
Even
exactly.
when I'm not smoking
I know. I sound stoned even when I'm not.
Especially if you put them on 3/4.
But get this. So I've lost like 25 pounds on the carnivore diet. And I decided that night, Maria gave me a Valentine's chocolate, white chocolate bar, and I left it in the fridge for 2 months. And I went to a meeting that night that I haven't been to in a year because it was shut down on my last birthday. And it's a little far away now, but we had a social distance meeting. And it was great. And I had some cookies there. And I had a half of that white chocolate bar when I got home. And man, did I have a headache in the morning from that. Like I felt hungover from the sugar. Because that's the first like desserty type thing I've had since probably beginning of January.
Oh yeah, dude.
And I thought, you know what? When I was eating all this stuff all the time, like, what is it doing? If it gives you that effect because you're sort of off it, what is it doing all the time for you? You know?
Yeah, I'll notice that if I go hard on a bag of cookies, or I have to eat quite a bit because my diet's not as clean as yours probably. But if I eat fucking 5 or 6 cookies or like a big bowl of ice cream or something like that, I could wake up the next day and it ruin my whole morning.
Yeah.
My head hurts. I got this tension out the back of my neck. It's just brutal. I mean, it is very reminiscent of a hangover.
Yeah.
This is super. And I mean, that's the thing to think about what that shit doing all the time when you're eating that stuff.
Yeah. I want to get Paul Saladino on the show. He's the carnivore guy that we.
He's still ignoring you?
Oh, I've only tried once, I think, to email him. But.
If we get you on the wild meat, you could just be eating for free.
That's right. Yeah.
Are you going to try?
Try the wild meat? What do you mean?
You've been eating the sausages.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I've been eating some of the meat you gave me. Yeah.
Did you take any roasts and stuff like that too, or did you just take sausages?
No, I just took sausages, yeah. And some ground beef and some ground stuff that I still haven't eaten yet.
Oh, you won't notice anything in the ground either. You won't taste anything in that. I mean, what I would do is when you leave today, take a couple of like steaks or roasts and just see how that is. You have to like undercook them way more than you used to.
Oh, okay.
Like way undercook them.
I was talking to Russ from the Snake Brothers.
They eat all deer.
The Serpent, and I said, Russ, looks like you've lost weight, and he's like, yeah, I've lost a lot. I'm on this diet. I'm like, what is it? He's like, it's kind of like a paleo. It's like I just eat meat and eggs, and I go, so do I, and I've lost a ton.
Really, eh?
Yeah. So he's doing the same thing.
Maybe I should jump on that bandwagon. I eat a lot of meat and eggs already. I just have to take out more crap.
Yeah.
And I drink a lot of coffee.
But you don't need to.
A lot of coffee. I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah. So anyways, this was a fantastic chat. Oh, I love this lucid dreaming stuff because I don't know, maybe that's what inspired me and I'm dreaming more now. I don't know. But it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
I still don't dream a lot. Maybe I do. I just don't remember them.
Oh, everybody dreams.
Everybody.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Everybody dreams.
We went out yesterday, got a load of firewood. It's nice. We finally found a mountain road that wasn't gated and got through the mountains, through the first pass of mountains anyway. Every other road we went on last weekend was closed.
Yeah.
So we went all the way down, almost to Crow's Nest Pass, and found a way in down there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good. It's nice to get into the actual mountains, get up the Old Man River, up to the river up there. There's a bunch of people fishing. Went and got a bunch of firewood.
Nice.
Good day's work. Went shooting.
Shoot some guns?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Shot a box of skeets.
Oh.
Me and Miles with 12 gauge.
Yeah.
Went through fucking a load of shells.
Wow.
Maybe like 100.
Wow.
And then we had to let the gun cool down a few times. And then I had cut down the kids' 22. Well, it used to be my 22, but I cut it down so it fit the girls.
So you cut the handle down?
The stock down, yeah.
And they're doing pretty good, eh?
Yeah, they both hit that 3-inch target at about 30 yards. Yeah. Did you hit it?
Yeah.
You went out?
No,
okay.
I'm sure I would have.
So are you sure you would have?
I hit it with a slingshot.
No, you did.
I did.
After like 3 bounces?
After about 100 tries.
Yeah. Did you hit it with the gun, though? I think you did.
Yeah.
So they're as good as you. I told them if we're ever in a hostage situation, they can take the shot. If someone has a gun to my head, just go ahead. You can take the shot. You can hit that little target.
There you go.
I'll just wince.
Yeah. Blink.
That was a good day. Good day's work. You forget how I slept fucking 11 hours last night.
Yeah, you sleep well after that.
You forget how much work a load of firewood is.
Yeah.
It's been fucking a decade.
What do you think? That was a cord you put in your truck?
No. That's like a cord is 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet.
Well, what is that?
That's probably like
2 by 4 by 8?
2 by.
So it's half a cord, you think?
No, maybe a quarter cord.
Really?
Probably
That's
a
it?
quarter cord.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just my truck's small for one. My truck bed is only 5'7".
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even have that because I have my sleigh at the front to put all the guns.
Oh, I see.
In.
So it's doesn't even get to 8 foot long.
I have to bring a toilet in there. So there's really probably only 4 feet of wood in and stacked 2 feet high.
Right.
So maybe it is 4 feet by 4 feet. Might be 4 feet by 4 feet by 2 feet. But that would be a quarter cord, right? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's 4 by 4 by 2 instead of 4 by 4 by 8.
There's so much wood out there. It's fucking crazy. And then on the way back, we stopped to get some drinks. And you go into the store and it's $12 fucking for a bag of firewood that's got about 8 pieces in it. And we went out free. It used to be back in the day, it used to be $5 for the permit. You go online, you pay $5 and you get a 30-day permit. And there's a couple different ones you can get. You can get the firewood one, so you can basically go cut as much firewood as you want every day for 30 days. If you're selling it, you're supposed to get a different permit.
And does it matter what you're cutting down? Like you're not cutting down trees,
I don't cut
right?
down trees. No, it's all just taking. There's so much. I literally parked the truck in one spot. We just spent 2 hours, chainsawing and splitting. Chainsaw, split, take turns, chainsaw, split, just on stuff that's lying on the ground in a 100 square foot area.
Wow.
And we could have filled my truck up heaping. We could have got a cord
How far
easily.
up the road?
Oh, we could have went anywhere. We went way up the road. We went over the pass because we were looking for sheep at the same time, see if we could find some rams. And we wanted to go skeet shooting.
Did you see any animals?
We didn't see any. We've seen a bunch of deer.
Yeah.
But the deer are too piney right now in the spring. Plus, they could be pregnant. So, and I'm not a big whitetail fan.
Yeah.
But I think the snake bros, eat a ton of whitetail down there. Those guys are eating deer, I think, most of the time. We'll get you on the wild meat this year. See, I'm more of a mule deer guy. I'm waiting for the ice to come off the lake so I could take the boat out.
Yeah.
The new boat. And, well, new to me anyway.
Yeah.
And snatch up some deer from the bottom of the coulees. Maybe we'll take you out for that.
Yeah, sure.
We're gonna.
I'd love to go out there.
When we go out there, we're gonna start a little fire and cook up the tenderloins right out there.
Really?
After I cut them out. Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit creepy. I don't know.
Really? Is that too much for
I
you?
could force myself to do it. I mean, I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I'm eating meat now.
You
so
take it a couple of rocks, put it between a couple of rocks. We'll mash the shit out of it.
No.
Throw some salt on it. Fry it in a pan and some oil.
Why do you have to mash it?
I'll just make it extra tender, a little crispy. Then you're not cooking like a big 3-inch thick piece of meat. You're not trying to cook that over.
So did you have to get a permit for your firewood?
Yeah, it was free this year though.
Oh, it's a free permit.
But you can also get a permit to transplant up to 20 trees.
Why would you need a permit to do that?
This is the question. Why do I need a permit to go out into the woods, public land, and take wood? Why do I need a permit for that, for one? And why do I need a permit to go dig out a tree?
To dig out a tree?
Yeah, so you'd go dig out a tree from the bush and take it into your yard and plant it.
Oh, I see.
I was thinking that'd be a lot of work, though.
You need a little permit for everything now. Yeah.
Fucking permit for a permit. You have to get the permit.
Soon you're not going to be able to get wood out of the forest if you don't have a vaccine permit. I'm just joking. Let's not go there.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Hey, save that for Outlawed. Go check out our Grimerica Outlawed for that kind of stuff.
It's pretty lawless out there. Usually when people roll up and you're shooting off a bunch of guns, they just keep on driving. Even the people that are supposed to stop.
Yeah.
Except you get the odd game warden that's pretty gung-ho, but it's not hunting season right now, so he knows we're just out pissing around.
Yeah.
He doesn't want any trouble. No one wants any trouble out in the bush. It's only in the cities, in the towns. Mostly the cities. Even the towns out there, they don't give a fuck about nothing.
Yeah.
Actually, Claire's home is overboard. They had a sign at the drive-thru that asked me to put on my mask before I paid.
There's a couple small towns. Somebody was doing oh my God, Kevin Johnson, I think his name is. He was in Dawson Creek, I think it was, which I think, and he was going into the no frills there or whatever. And oh my God, they would not let him take soap. They would not let him buy soap without a mask. Like they were trying to grab the soap out of his hand. He's like, here's $5. I'm putting $5 on the counter. And he's got, of course, there's filming and there's a bunch of people there and he's without a mask. And they're like, you can't take that without a mask. You're not going to take it. And they're trying to grab it out of his hand.
Even
like,
everyone
you can't shop
I said,
without a mask. This is in a small town, Dawson Creek. They're just like, they're more crazy than the big cities right now.
Even everyone I've seen outside in Claire's home had a mask on.
Something's going on right now.
I didn't go in any place. I think they might have a bylaw.
I think we've been a little out of touch with the local media and how much fear is going on right now. Because I've seen kids today outside with masks on, which is weird. Because usually the kids outside don't have them.
Depends on their mom.
Yeah,
depends on the parent. I mean, we all went into Max Friday night for Slurpees with no masks.
Did he say that guy says something to me sometimes?
He didn't say nothing. He was smiling.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I just look unapproachable.
Because you saw the squint in his eyes.
Yeah, I can tell when someone's smiling by their eyes. I'm a smiler too. I'm a big smiler. He didn't say nothing to me. No one ever says anything to me. Either I look extra friendly or I look like I might fucking snap. With my hair and my beard right now, I probably look like the latter.
Yeah.
And I have my kids with me. Honestly, it seemed like everyone was happy to see some laughing and smiling and kids.
Yeah.
They were completely out of hand too because I was like, okay, just don't make a scene. But then they go in there and they're fucking wrestling and knocking stuff over.
Oh my God.
Yelling and screaming. And which is how it should be. It seemed like everyone was happy, honestly, to just have a bit of normality back in their day.
Yeah.
Right, that
on.
guy gives you the gears?
No, once he said, "Where's your mask?" or something,
At
and
your
I was
mom's.
like, "Oh."
All right, what do you got?
Well, I got an
What do you
email from Rob in Italy, a little update for us in
Ooh,
Italy,
Rob
and then I got a
Cavato?
synchro. Yeah, do that first.
And now another edition of the Grimerica Goodies by the people.
Remind me to play a little sample of his music that he composes for documentaries, films, and streaming series and stuff like that. He sent me a little sample. And he says, my favorite composing genres are orchestral music, noir jazz, and hard rock. So he says now to something. So I asked him for a little update in Italy. And he says now to say something about Italy would need a very, very long email because context is king to understand the Italian situation at best. I would avoid that for the moment, but I'll try and make a short note. There is good news and bad news. The good news is that the majority of people, young and old, lost trust in politics in general. The bad news is that in January, they made President Conte fall, which was an inside job in plain sight. And then freaking Draghi came into power. Draghi came into power. He was not voted. And when this happens, it's called technical government, which roughly translate to, we don't have time to go vote. Therefore, we need technically skilled politicians that run the nation until voting becomes possible again. How's that?
Sounds like trouble.
Ugh. Draghi is kind of very bad news, given he is one of the G30 group of 30, and he clearly doesn't give a damn about the slightest concern of the Italian people. To me, no politician is good. That said, at least Conte had the balls to get constantly on social media and did a bunch of live streamings with journalists roasting him during the whole COVID year. This Draghi guy, the moment he jumps in, the whole Italian mainstream media praises him like he's some kind of savior or something, and that stinks. Nobody actually knows what Draghi is doing because he's constantly absent from the media, hardly holds press conferences, and he's just doing what the group of 30 told him to do to allow them to do whatever their goal is. The only part of it, which is to erase, I only know part of it, which is to erase all the family stores, companies, and make room for the big corporate ones. About COVID, as always here, there are rules, but the good, bad part of Italy is that everybody screws up the rules eventually. It's so darn confusing that the virus, if the virus were actually so deadly, we would have died like flies in a couple of days. So yeah, 100,000 people died, an average of 82 years old with comorbidities. But all of my friends that got it took some vitamin C, D, plus zinc and got over it.
They got Comos.
Never seen one single person on TV advising that, of course, which is pretty much what's going on in almost the rest of the planet.
Hey, what are the chances that the number one killers different COVID would be Comos and Cuomos?
Jesus, I digress. Sorry for the lengthy text. Let me know if you'd like to hear more from an Italian point of view. I will donate to the Grimerica Show again. You guys are great. Whatever happens to your YouTube channel, I will always follow you wherever it goes on. Rob. And then he mentioned something. I don't know if you've heard about this before. He says in his other email, he said, anyways, you guys are going through a lot of changes. I really appreciate all the efforts you are going to make Grimerica live on. And I always will be following you, whatever the Rockfin or Jesuskin platform you will be on. You know what he means by that?
No. Sounds good, though.
Here's his sample.
Hold it closer.
Reminds me of the Pink Panther.
Ooh, I should download those for the kids. I used to love the Pink Panther back in the day. The cartoon? You mean the cartoon? There was never any talking in it, right? Do you think there's any weird...
Thanks, Rob. There's his music. I'll put a link in the show notes to robcavallomusic.com. I was thinking more of the Pink Panther show.
The movie?
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah, that was always such a letdown for me. It was whenever I thought the Pink Panther movie, I was like, yes, 2 hours of the Pink Panther, and it's just these fucking bozos. Well, as long as we're playing stuff off our phones, I've got a new jingle from the King of Jingles. By the way, just because we have a King of Jingles doesn't mean you can't send in jingles. We appreciate jingles. But we do have one from the King of Jingles. It is an adult brain jingle.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
This is our audiobook landing page. Check out adultbrain.ca, is it, Darren? Adultbrain.ca.
Because what's it called?
Secret Doctrine is out right now. The Secret Doctrine. Ooh. It is a massive tome, and Secret Teachings is coming out very soon. And I want to just explain to you the Secret Doctrine is the synthesis of science, religion, and philosophy by H.P. Blavatsky, Volume 1, Cosmogenesis. I don't know how long it is. Do you remember how long that one is?
34 and a half hours.
34 and a half hours. Lots of work we put into that. And I mean, honestly, you want to skip through the stanzas probably and get into the second half of the book. You could follow the chapters and stuff. Did you really?
Yeah. I don't know how it got through quality control.
On the actual audiobook?
The cover.
Oh my God.
I left the S out.
Oh my God. Blavatsky?
Yeah.
Oh my God. We have a problem with spelling here.
Oh, yeah. We're both terrible spellers. At least we haven't spelled anyone's like, this feels worse.
A lot of times we give Nap the wrong spelling for the art and stuff.
We've handed over responsibility for spelling to you, though, for the record.
You know what happens? I plug it in quickly and then I forget to update it. I plug it in quickly in the show notes and then I forget to double check.
I don't think I can blame you for Blavatsky.
No.
Anyway. Check it out. Maybe put a link to that specific book in the show notes.
Okay, will do. Yeah, but it is a tome for sure, and it's pretty hard to understand a lot of it. But
I think it's 37
the last half of it is good.
Credit. Anyway, if that's something, if you got some Audible credits or you want to listen to Graham narrate a fantastic book, that is a great way to help with the show. We make about $14 Canadian every time someone buys that book, or uses an Audible credit for it, or uses a free Audible membership to get it. So if it's something you're interested in, if you do go to Audible and get that, or tell your friends to get it, whatever, that is a great way to support the show. Of course, if you go to Adult Brain.
Should I put a link from Adult Brain?
Yeah,
in there?
But the thing is, put that specific show in there because I haven't updated the Adult Brain site yet.
Oh, you mean go to Audible, you mean, for that one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what
Adult Brain has all the other ones updated, but I haven't got up to updating the Secret Doctrine link yet, and I don't know if I'll get to it tonight.
Okay.
But I will play the new Adult Brain jingle while we're here.
AdultBrain.ca. That's ADULTBRAIN.ca.
Nice and short.
The link is pretty ugly. It's one of those long links.
I can make it a pretty link.
Yeah, you should probably make it. I'll leave it in there. You can
just leave it in there and I'll pretty it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that's a great way, adultbrain.ca, there's a Secret Society books over there. There's 4 or 5 books from us that are over there that you buy. A great way to support the show. There's another great way to support the show, which will be episode, I believe, 486, all for free, is to head over to grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for a monthly via Stripe or PayPal or Patreon, any of those. We can get cryptos if you want. I think they were having trouble with that crypto thing, but I got this other wallet now anyway that we have to use for our Rockfin stuff. So I think I'll just end up putting those addresses on the page anyway the next time I get in there. You can just email me if that's something you want to do. But this is just a value for value show. We're never going to change. We're never going to take ad sponsors and stuff like that. We're never going to do ad reads. You just support it if you like it. We'll keep going. Of course, if you're not into the value for value model, you can go check out some of our other content on our other platforms other than this show. We have Grimerica Outlawed, our other podcast that's mostly controversial conspiracy stuff and pushing back on medical stuff and a lot of COVID stuff.
The Great Reset stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. That's over at grimericaoutlawed.ca, or just type Grimerica Outlawed into your podcast player. Of course, that over there is a first hour free, second hour members type system. And we do have David Icke coming up and Gareth Icke coming up this week for interviews. We got Jason Burmas coming out right away over there. We just had a fantastic episode with Owen Hunt, probably one of my top 5 interviews of all time. I
really
absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Wow. Because a lot of it was about Napoleon Hill and outwitting the
great.
devil and the manifestation. And yeah, that was a great chat.
So you can go check that out, or we've got our Rockfin presence. Of course, now we have started mirror streaming our YouTube because this show, the Grimerica show, was our last presence on YouTube. They kicked the outlawed feed off already, so it went to Rockfin for free. And now we've started streaming this there as well. So we stream this on YouTube. We also stream this on Rockfin. They've got a better tip system set up there instead of super chats that they don't take as much as YouTube does. And we're just sort of backing out of YouTube. I mean, YouTube's made it apparent they don't want a bunch of our content. So eventually they're not going to get any of our content. And we're sort of starting the dual stream thing now. So we'll keep streaming to YouTube as well. But we're going to start streaming to Rockfin too. And
so head over there and just sign up for a free account.
Yeah,
and you get all kinds of
watch on Rockfin.
Yeah, and it's like the Netflix of YouTube, really. So you get a whole bunch of awesome creators over there. I mean, I could go off and name them all, but you know most of the people that are over there already.
If you want to pay, but you don't need to. I mean, for now.
But I mean, they're all there anyways in the free section.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Rockfin has a giant free section, and that's where we want you to watch the show if you're watching it. YouTube, we're going to keep it there because people find the show through that still. It's still like a.
But eventually, it might not even be our choice. They might just say not enough with all these independent creators that are.
So now we're just streaming to Rockfin as well. Everything we do streams to YouTube, streams to Rockfin too. So you don't have to do both. You might as well just go to rockfin.com/Grimerica. And then if you ever do decide to sign up for a premium account, of course, we've got the premium show over there. Grimerica Goes Deep. We did Ancient Mysteries. Now we're doing Climate Change. There's about 150 or 200 or more other creators on Rockfin that do premium content. You do get access to all that should you decide to sign up. That being said, if you sign up, go through our link. It supports us. I don't care if you sign up. I just want you to go to Rockfin and start watching our video stuff there instead of on YouTube because we're not big fans of YouTube and YouTube's not big fans of us. Is that all?
Yep.
Which trailer are we playing this week? Did we play the last one from the season 1 or?
Oh, you're going to play one in this episode still?
Yeah, and your idea of going slow has fucked us because now I'm getting backed up on trailers.
Oh,
I have a couple of Randall Carlson ones.
So then, is this the?
I don't think we played the last Tartaria one.
This is the last
yet.
Tartaria one. Yeah, yeah. So play that.
So
play that trailer in here.
And then next week we'll play the Tony Heller trailer.
Yeah,
and then we just did a couple hours of Randall Carlson as well on climate.
Yeah, that
fantastic.
was great too. Yeah. So I got a synchro here from the chats. You can come in the chats too. Grimerica.ca/chats. Leave synchros and stuff like that in there.
I'm a rambling gram with synchronicities all over the web. And Aaron is skeptical about everyone and don't believe it yet.
You ready to rate this one, Darren? Ready? This is from Innerly Lad. Got one for you, Grimerica, he says. I'm going through old boxes in my basement storage room. My 8-year-old is helping me look for a box of guitar strings I'm sure that are down there somewhere. As I'm digging through bins, my kid finds a box from his mother's childhood and proceeds to read a book that he randomly pulls out. I, on the other hand, find a Mother's Day project they both did together about 4 years ago that I was supposed to hang on the wall 4 years ago. Oops. Now I know Mother's Day is coming, eventually, and get the idea to finally build a frame for the old gift and give it to her this Mother's Day. So as usual, I'm talking out loud to myself, and I ask myself, I wonder when Mother's Day is. And without skipping a beat, my kid reads this out loud. See picture. As he was on that exact page and was about to start reading that exact paragraph. Why do we celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day? Answer. The second Sunday in May is always Mother's Day. We celebrate this day to give special thanks to our mothers. The third Sunday each June is Father's Day. On this day, we give special thanks to our fathers. Some people give their parents gifts on these special days. Crazy, eh? So that random book from his mom's childhood, from the kid's mom's childhood, was open. He was about to start reading that paragraph when he asked the question, on when is Mother's Day? And then that's a picture of the gift. Nice. It's like a heart with two hands in it. That was
I got a couple of those.
Frame that thing.
I had a couple of those around here, I think. of the girls.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give it a 7.5.
Nice.
All right, I guess that's it. We'll jump into
I got a quote.
Oh, you got a quote?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I should have known you had a quote.
Yeah, I got a quote somewhere.
I'm ill prepared. Here we go.
It's the profound quote of the week. Darren, can you guess it? It's the profound quote of the week.
About wrong.
Can you guess the human who spoke it or wrote it down? Profound quote of the week.
Did you put the link too?
I put the link, yeah.
Well done.
One of the most spiritual things you can do is embrace your humanity. Connect with those around you today. Say, I love you. I'm sorry. I appreciate you. I'm proud of you. Whatever you're feeling. Send random texts. Write a cute note. Embrace your truth and share it. Cause a smile today for someone else and give plenty of hugs. That's Steve Maraboli.
Maraboli. Well, that's kind of what I was going to say about Mother's Day. Before Hallmark, it was just like you should just appreciate your mom and your dad and stuff all the time. I digress. So yeah, enjoy the last trailer for season 1 of our Rockfin special with Flavortown and Amuro, and then enjoy the Fabulous Chat. Lee Adams.
But we have the Pan American Buffalo Exposition of 1901. So here we have, this is the Temple of Music. So these structures, we are told, are temporary. In 18 months, they constructed, yes, in 18 months, they constructed this city. It took them 18 months to build, and there are several structures that they claim are temporary that still stand. So we have an entire civilization and generation of people with master level craftsmanship that have been removed from this society. They have been killed. They have been exterminated. They were sent through 2 world wars to ensure that nobody would have the ability to make these things ever again. You work in construction, or relatively speaking, what kind of logistics would it take just to build one of these temporarily? Yeah, I like to call it the grand unified architecture. I prefer that as a phrase because it stays agnostic of a particular civilization, because I don't think we know who the civilization is necessarily. So, and I don't think it's Roman. They call it Greco-Roman architecture. I don't like that phrase either. I like grand unified architecture. So you can see again this signature brick here. So you have the archways, you have the brick laid out very well, and you can see all kinds of evidence of an entire layer of civilization underneath Rome. We're talking tunnels. We're talking, what are these? Sewer systems could have been a way of transporting energy. Could have been, these could have been railroads back then. I don't know. But there are, I don't know how long it took them to excavate this stuff, and this is a massive amount of material. And
so
we're
those
talking
statues were underneath there too.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the big change up in popular culture. They always have, and in video games too, not just movies and TV. They talk about the sewers beneath Rome, the catacombs. They said that they couldn't find Pompeii until 1631, but Pompeii is openly on maps in the very same location with Herculaneum and other cities all through the 1500s. So there's less than 100-year split between when it was put on maps and when it was
apparently found,
dug out.
Yeah, because they didn't know it was there. Apparently, that's what they're claiming.
They say that for 1,600 years they couldn't find the thing.
Yeah,
but every map maker had found it and had been right about it up until the day they dug it out.
But it turns out that they're all a bunch of rich kids from ancient bloodlines from like Dutch families and German families that are responsible for the repurposing of our history. And so I think what we're looking at is we have these repurposed structures. They give these spooks the title of architect, and they're the ones that are responsible for the retrofitting of these structures. They are not the progenitors. They are not the designers of these structures. They are the inheritors. That's why all these cities are founded and not built. You ever wonder about that? The wordplay?
Founded, not constructed.
Penn Station's huge. I wonder if some of these structures weren't used as airships, some sort of airship-based.
Like an airport?
Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see a lot of the designs of these train stations. They do look like a airship could be flown through them or kept in them. If you just bust out one of the walls, they have that sort of half cylindrical design to them that kind of makes them look like hangars in a lot of situations. You find a lot of that style of structure in that period of time, is those sort of huge, cavernous, half cylindrical hangar looking structures in major cities. And then you have the large spires, like at the top of the Empire State Building, that was used as refueling stations for airships. There has been a complete rewriting of our history that has been done in our relative generation. We know people who have gone through it. I have had great uncles who went through the insane asylum, mental asylum, reprogramming prisons that they had set up for 100 years in the 18 and 1900s. So from a personal level, I am very interested in knowing why this happened and a little bit of what happened. I don't think we're ever going to get down to it. And that's the other part of it that's fun, is that it never stops. So you can just keep going and going and going and going. We didn't even talk about Star Force. This is the first, we're mentioning it in the last 5 minutes. It's like, how do we even forget it? Good Lord. I mean, I could do an entire show about Star Force and how insane those are.
It's a handy little purview of history, which nobody seems to know or care about, because we got this little overview of history all through school. And we assumed, like I said in the beginning, that everything's been discovered and there's no more exploration to do. History's all been figured out and it's a dead subject. And if you're interested in history, the History Channel has 47 specials on World War II. And that's it.
We are at the point now where I believe that the next step is to start crowdfunding research and talking to scientists and coming up with ways and strategies of how we can actually start testing these theories, soil core samples, potentially dating the age of rocks and quarries and rocks and buildings.
All right, we're getting back into lucid dreaming and UFOs with Lee Adams of Taileaters.com and the author of a fantastic book, A Visionary Guide to Lucid Dreaming, Methods for Working with the Deep Dream State. So thanks for joining us, buddy. We've been back and forth a while, and we're finally connected. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be able to be on your show with you guys.
Yeah, man. It totally brought me back to we delved pretty deep into lucid dreaming. I had a favorite podcast from the UK. And these guys were hilarious. They were talking about lucid dreaming and this now, it's funny how time flies, because at the beginning I had this lucid dreaming book, LaBerge's book, actually on lucid dreaming. And I met these guys at a UFO conference that were doing these videos, these lucid dream videos. You might even know this crew, these guys. They were total artists. They do these videos, 15, 20-minute videos where they pretend they're lucid dreaming and all that. And I met them at the UFO conference because they were volunteering for the audio visual part of it.
Awesome, yeah.
And it was a total synchronicity. I go, I've just been watching you guys on video, and here you are at this conference.
Yeah, on a different subject too. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. They're all intertwined in each other. You know?
Totally. And they were fantastic guys, and we were getting right into lucid dreaming, and I was trying all the techniques for a while, and I don't know. I wasn't very good at it. Every once in a while I could do it, but that LaBerge book was really interesting to me. And your book seemed like that was a contemporary redo of that. That included all this extra stuff in it. It was fantastic. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I've like you, I've read quite a few books on lucid dreaming, so I kind of wanted to make it so that people had an introductory kind of experience with my book, and then also the biggest thing that I thought was lacking in lucid dreaming book is to be able to finally have the experience and then kind of extend it so that you can kind of know what to do after you have the experience. Because like I spent all my life essentially having these experiences, but then nobody really talks about what to do after that, you know? So it has the methods in there and additional techniques and stuff for pretty much everybody that's coming into it essentially brand new. And then, and, you know, most of those techniques I didn't create myself. You know, I've read books and listened to researchers and stuff like that that have actually done the work, and then kind of focused on the science of it, you know, and try to keep it more scientific. And then also, you know, gave the reader something to do after they had their first experience, or where to take it after that. So I would say it has like some beginner elements to it, and then also like what, you know, more advanced stuff to like actually what is possibly happening and where to go with it. So you know, it's kind of, I wrote the book for me, and essentially, you know, in a way to kind of put together all my experiences in a framework that kind of makes sense. You know, like anybody that's written a book can talk about that experience where you write a bunch, you know, and you don't know really what to do with it. And then you start putting together and forming like a narrative out of it and creating a story. And then it starts coming together, and you see things in that you normally don't get, you know? So in a way it's like an advanced dream journaling, you know, creating this book. So it's been a great experience in the sense that it's been hard, but I also learned a lot, you know, from it.
Yeah.
And I've grown a lot, and, you know, met a lot of interesting people like yourself to discuss the book, you know?
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how long was it in the works for?
That's a good question. You know, like most people say it takes a lifetime to write a book, you know, and I kind of agree with that, you know. I spent a lot of time writing a lot of the content in the book throughout the years, and then kind of reassembled it into a narrative that people could read. So, you know, I have my own personal blog, as well as like a blog that other people can join in and stuff like that on my website. And a lot of the, you know, people that have followed my work and stuff like that would probably see similarities in the book as well as through my blog, you know. And but I added a lot in there that I've never really released to anybody either, so I wanted to keep it fresh. But you know, it took me a lifetime to really get the ability to write something like this. I'm not a great writer, so I had editors and stuff like that to kind of help me out, you know. And it's a lot of work for me, you know. So yeah, it took a long time, man.
Yeah, it was a good book. It really is. How did you incorporate like the hero's journey and Jung's work into that? Because I mean, this is so much deeper than just, you know, figuring out how to become aware in your dreams. I mean, it goes into a lot of deep stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jung's work. You know, unfortunately, he passed away, so we can't really have a, you know, conversation one-on-one. But I've been a fan of his work for a long time, and you know, I started to go to grad school for Jungian depth psychology, and really dove into the material. Then finally, you know, actually read the work of his, you know, talked with people that have spent their entire lives essentially studying Jung's theories and practices and stuff and working with dreams. And I kind of used, you know, some of those techniques and tools that they provide me, not all of them, because, you know, some of them I didn't really agree with, but I used some of their techniques to kind of expand on that and make it into like a better book, you know. I don't really like attribute everything that I believe in and agree with into what Jung says, but I think there is a lot of good stuff in Jung's work, and so I tried to encompass that. And you know, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey isn't really like Jungian in a sense. It's he went to he was a big proponent of the school I was going to, Pacifica Graduate Institute, and he was a big, you know, key figure there. So I saw his hero's journey kind of motif, you know, theme and the structure of that, and I realized that a lot of dream content actually throughout the years kind of cycles around in this like in this system, like kind of like an Ouroboros, right? And so that's the same symbol that that Joseph Campbell uses for his hero's journeys as a circle, like you go on the journey and then you return, and then kind of the journey, it never really stops, you could say, it continually goes over and over again. So, I've been into the Ouroboros for a long time, and that's kind of my symbol that I've adopted into my life as like this learning process and growing process that I'm going through. And you could call it individualization, and using that young word. And, I saw that, and I immediately kind of gravitated to it. So
thus the Taileaters.
Yeah, exactly. So, the hero's journey, I think, is a great mechanism to look at in terms of dream work, and like not just one dream, but like a series of dreams throughout your life, and the process that it's going through and trying to convey a message to you to help you grow as an individual, and so, yeah, that's kind of where it went to. I would say that the book is like somebody referred to it as an individual mythology. So, we read myth and stories throughout like ancient cultures like Greek and Egyptians and the Roman gods and all that stuff. And even in the Bible, you could call it, a myth. And what I'm saying is like dreams are myth-like. They are stories about us that use characters and symbols and stuff like that to create these very intricate stories that are important to our personal lives. And what I proposed in the book is that these stories are equivalent to our own personal myth. They are the gods, and they are the creatures of myths that we read in these stories, but they're ours, and when we engage in that, they're a living, growing myth that we can become more if we actually listen to them. So not random noise like some of the mainstream scientists would like us to believe.
Yeah, I love that. You have any questions?
Is it like a literal thing? Do you literally listen to your dreams, or is it all symbology, or is there anything to those dream books that,
that's
because I feel like they're all different.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Well, I tend to look at symbols and myths as very differently because of my background than probably the majority would think. So, modernity would like us to think that symbols and myth means like fake, right? You look at a story of the ancient gods and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, they're not real. The gods aren't real, and so we discredit it. We throw it away. What I'm saying is there's a much deeper element to myth and symbols than the surface level image that you see or the text that you read or anything like that. So when it comes to dream symbols, I'm not one that says, you see a bird and that means X, right? I'm not in the position to even really sit there and tell you what your dream means. I believe that each individual needs to understand, build a relationship with their dreams, and actually dive into it and explore what it speaks to you and it conveys a message to you. So it's time consuming in the sense that you have to put energy in, but whatever you put in, you get out of it. And I'm not surface level where, one thing means one thing. Like there's no dream dictionary that's going to tell me what my dream means. There's some common elements in it, like it's common that people dream of water sometimes and things like that, right? And universally, like there's some meanings to water that we kind of all share, through our, you could call it evolution, So you can kind of take some elements out of a dream about water and kind of convey a message to somebody else, or maybe assist them in trying to understand what maybe they're dreaming about in terms of water or something like that, But big picture stuff, that's what I'm kind of talking about, it's not a group activity. It's very individual. It's very energy, you have to put a lot of energy into it to understand, it's personal. And a lot of people assume that once you wake up from a dream, like the dream's done and it's over with and whatever that was is done, right? But what I would like to convey is that dreams don't just end when you wake up. They're in your psyche, they're in your memory, they're constantly being brought up as you're like going throughout your day and expressing it. So it's still in there, it's still working. Just like people express with psychedelics and stuff like that. They talk about how when you engage with you could call it a spirit or whatever, right? Like Mother Aya or something like that. It doesn't just stop working once you end the psychedelic trip, right? It continues with you throughout your life, and you reflect on it, and you can converse with other people and have like a community and stuff like that, and all these things build up. I think in the reality of the situation is that myth and symbols are actually what manifest reality itself. So those things are higher priority than physical reality. So when you have a dream experience or something like that, it is actually still actively expressing itself into reality versus the other way around, right?
That's interesting. Yeah. Especially when you have a real heavy,
sorry, go ahead.
No. What would the other way around be like?
Like the other way around would be like a very material view of reality, right? Material reality affects the psyche versus like the psyche affects material reality. So
yeah. Especially when you have those heavy dreams, like they can affect you for a few hours the next day. Like people have these nightmares, and they're just like, I'm still out of sorts after 4 or 5 hours in the morning.
Yeah. Sometimes lifetime. I had a dream, I'd say probably 4 years ago, and I still daily have physical experiences from that dream. I mean, that, anybody that knows me personally can attest to the power of that dream. I talk about it often, and, I'm still working through that. So it's not something, like I've had psychedelic experiences, quite a few of them, and none of them affect me on the level that dream did. They're very powerful. I'm not going to deny that. And they have lasting effects on me by far, but nothing came close to that power of that dream. People make life choices off of dreams too. I was in the military. I spent 14 years in the military, and I had a dream, on top of a lot of other things that were happening in my life. But the dream I associate to be the determining factor for me to say, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm getting out. Wow. So, 20 years in the military is retirement. So I gave up retirement essentially over a dream, and most people would think that's crazy, and I did too at the time, but I couldn't deny what the dream was telling me. I had to listen to it. Otherwise I knew there was going to be big consequences if I didn't,
Can you get into it at all, or?
What's that?
Can you get into it at all?
Well, the dream wasn't like, if I explain the whole dream, you won't really like find anything in there. And I still don't, it's like, but man, I was sitting down with counselors, and I would tell them this dream, and I knew that the counselor wasn't understanding what the hell I was talking about, like they're like, okay, just a bunch of weird shit going on in his mind. But I would tell him this dream, and I just start like getting teary eyed, and start just like breaking down. And I was like, I don't know why, I don't know why I feel like this when I tell this dream, and they didn't either, obviously, but I knew that like I didn't know what the images meant at the time, but I knew what I needed to do, and people kind of describe dreams sometimes like that, like really powerful dreams where you don't necessarily get like a movie, that's going to have like a beginning and end to tell you exactly what to do, but you feel the intensity of what it's trying to convey to you, like a download. Right. Psychedelics do the exact same thing. You can't recall the entire experience when you come out of it, but then you're like, wow, that was really powerful. I need to do some shit in my life, and like, so it's kind of the same thing. It's like a download, and I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I felt the emotion behind it, which is, to me, is even more powerful than being able to sit there and like write out the dream word for word, or, image by image, and be able to convey it to other people. Like I said, dreams are personal, sometimes you don't even need to say, tell people your dreams, even though that's a big part of sharing, and people are like, wow, when you share, they get really excited. But, sometimes dreams are personal. You don't want to really tell them out there. So long story short, no, I won't get into that one, but I just don't think it'd be entertaining, to be honest with you.
No,
was
that makes sense. So
very
it's
dramatic.
it's a good way to explain how they affect you, and you can't just describe them necessarily either. So that's
Right.
good.
Yeah.
So what about you've got in your book a couple chapters on guides and friends in your dreams and stuff like that, and I want to also touch on like healing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, guides, they're kind of hard to describe. I mean, everybody encounters like something in their dream that has knowledge,
Yeah.
seemingly more knowledge than you do. And you don't necessarily have to be like in a lucid dream in order to have these experiences. Most of what I write about is in every common dream that you have, and you just don't really realize that you're dreaming. So you just, engage with it however the dialogue and the story is that you would normally engage with the dream. So there's not really much difference in a lucid dream between guides and stuff like that. You can still have like a powerful interaction, but to me, guides are like these characters in the dream that are much more knowledgeable and conscious even than the dreamer, in a sense. They seem to know the world that you're in and what is going on. And they can convey to you like messages, very direct, clear messages for what is happening, in not only the dream experiences, but in these, experiences that you're having in life and stuff, and what to do. So, I mean, I've had a lot of different guide interactions, and they transform over time. It seems that the guides have changed too in some ways, like they change who they are. But when interacting with them, they feel like they're alive. They feel like they're just as real as I am, and they've been there a long time, much longer than I have. It feels like, they're ancient in that sense. So, they feel like they have something to teach me, and I listen as best I can. Funny is that most of my guides are kind of annoyed with me because they seem to think that I'm forgetting over and over again what they teach.
Wow.
And I'm like, I can't remember, I honestly am in the dream, like, hey, I wish I could remember what you taught me last time, and they're like, geez, we'll teach you again, and they try, but then I wake up and of course I can't remember anything they taught me, it's like, God dang it, and I remember one time, I was talking with this lady in my dream, and she kept telling me her name, and I was like, what, and she'd say her name again, and I'd be like, I can't remember it. Like immediately as she'd tell it to me, I forget it. And I was like, and I'm like, what's your name? And she'd be like, I've told you 3 times, and she's getting really frustrated with me. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just doing my best here. So, for one thing I've realized in my dreams is that my memory is really bad. So my long-term memory and short-term memory is pretty suffering in dream experiences as well as waking life. So,
that's hilarious. There seems to be something more powerful in the lucid state, though. Like we had listeners email us some of their lucid dreaming encounters before, and I guess it might have been in some of the books I read where you can ask some of those guides or those people that seem not just like a guide, but I don't even know what to describe it as. It seems more
almost godlike.
Yeah, exactly. And you can ask them that deep, profound question, and they come up with this crazy answer that I feel like wouldn't really apply in a normal dream state. Like I feel like you have to be lucid to get to that level.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I had guides in both, but definitely in my lucid dreams, I would say that I would have more of those for sure. And I also, lucid dreaming and interacting with those guides allowed me to see the guides in normal dreams, in a different way. Lucid dreaming isn't, again, something like that you just turn off. It's like a martial art practice that you're doing, right? You do martial arts, right? A lot of people, I don't do martial arts, but I did when I was a kid, and I've taken what I've learned from martial arts as a kid throughout my life, right? It doesn't just turn off. And people that are really into martial arts, they're actively practicing those concepts throughout their life, like not just when they're in the when they're practicing like in a gym or something like that, right? And I'd like to say that lucid dreaming is similar in the sense that it's not something that you just turn on and turn off, right? You practice it, it changes who you are, and continues out through not just your waking life or your dreaming life, but your waking life as well. You're trying to be more aware, right? And so it kind of bleeds over into normal dreams too when you're really engaged within practice this thing. But you're right in the sense that like you bring awareness into the dream, and that's what gives you the lucidity, right? You're like, wow, this is a dream, and I can recall what questions I had when I was awake, like the things that have been bothering me or the things I want to learn. And you can take those questions, if you can recall them long enough, right, into the dream world, and then bring it to the character, the guide, and be like, this is my question. And oftentimes it's very surprising what they have to say. One thing that I spent a lot of time on is saying, what is this experience? Like, what is this dream experience? Is it real? I took the same approach to psychedelics. It actually is what led me to psychedelics, to try to answer the question of what a dream is. Like, what is this weird experience everybody has every single night, even if you don't recall it? It's like every single night, almost 5 times on average, each person has a dream, right? Each night, just weird hallucinations, right, that are just totally random seemingly, right? And we don't pay attention to them. So I was really intrigued by that, and I'd bring it to the dream world and be like, a dream character or a guide, I would call them, and I'd be like, hey, like, are dreams for real? And I expect to get an answer that I would think of, like yes or no, and the dream character goes, well, yes and no. And I was like, what? Like, I just wanted a straight answer, and they're like, they convey to me this very deep understanding about dreams and reality in a very short period of time. They said, dreams, are real and they're not real, in the sense that like they're part of your imagination and other people are interacting with that space, and that you can come and interact with other people in that space, like other people's imaginations, and you can, and it's like a fluid, and I mean, it's hard for me to even describe what I learned in that dream. And it was also a very long time ago when I had this dream, but again, it's like a download. You wake up and you're like, wow, I know in my body and like in my being what that means, but trying to speak those words and like convey that message to somebody else is like really difficult, Yeah. It's like, it's like a knowledge beyond words and images, right? It's symbolic. Yeah. And so, I didn't really understand that at the time either. I was like, woke up and I was like, that was confusing as hell, but, over time I've kind of grown to understand, more and more what that message meant. Yeah. So again, dreams, aren't just the experience. It's like living with that experience as you grow into it and really learning that knowledge. There's, a lot of Buddhist sayings are kind of like that too. It's like a short amount of words to convey a lot of information that sometimes it takes years and years to grow into, to really understand that what they're trying to convey to you,
Yeah. We had one of my favorite all-time episodes was Greg Doyle, and we talked about astral travel and fighting these battles in the astral realm and like lucid dreaming and all that. I mean, it was unbelievable. Something hit me about that episode, and then we were talking about healing a lot in there too. And that night, my girlfriend was on the couch. She couldn't sleep because she was majorly plugged up with these sniffles, like really bad. Really, I could hear them from upstairs. And I woke up in the middle of the night or in the early morning, and I thought, I'm going to try what Greg was suggesting. So I just kind of tried to get back into that sort of lucid state. I think I might have woke up lucid, actually. I can't remember now. But I tried to get back into that state, and I went downstairs and kind of went underneath her head. Like I just sort of tried to like sort of push this healing like up through her head or whatever. And she stopped fucking sniffling. It was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, and then I woke up, I'm like trying to hear, and I'm like, how could that be fucking possible? She was going on all that. And I thought, oh, that's so crazy after one of my favorite apps. So there's healing. I mean, it does seem like there's precog potential and healing potential and shared dreams. I mean, it gets sort of beyond the realm of what we would think possibility.
Yeah, definitely. Dang. When you were telling me about that dream, it brought up a lot of stuff, and now like my short-term memory is wiped out. Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of healing dreams, you know, in lucid states as well, and other things healing me, you know, guides again, kind of working with my body. Oh, you were talking about like astral wars and stuff like that. Yeah. I've had few dreams where, you know, I've noticed a theme in my dreams is I'm not really like, in especially lucid ones, I'm not really active. I'm not partaking in the dream experience. I'm like a voyeur. I'm observing what's happening, you know, kind of standing out of the sideline, just like,
I do that too. Even when I'm lucid, I just let it go sometimes.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'll watch like, you know, people and stuff like that, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. You know, I'm very scientific about in these dreams, you know, and so, kind of standing on the sidelines, and these people show up, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing? You know, like they seem different. They're like flying around and doing all kinds of crazy shit, you know? And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, hey, you know, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh, we're fighting a battle. And I was like, what battle? You know, like what? And they're like, oh, there's a war happening. And I was like, and we're fighting battles. And I was like, okay. And then they just took off, you know, and I was like, all right, you know, and I'm still hanging out with my dream world, you know? And so weeks went by, and then suddenly I'm in another dream, and this lady shows up, and she's like battling this it looked like a golem, I would say, like a giant machine like being thing, you know. And I was like, what is going on? You know, again, I'm kind of observing, and she said, oh, there's a war happening and it's coming. And I was like, okay. And she said, you're going to have to decide what side you're on. You can't stand on the sidelines anymore.
Wow.
I was like, what does that mean? You know? And so I woke up, and, you know, I told all my friends this. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you know, my dreams say a war is coming. Oddly enough, like my friends usually believe my dreams more than I do. And I started noticing that. They're like, well, what's the war going to be? You know, I'm like, dude, I didn't even think about that. You know, I'm like, I'm still stuck on like, what the hell is this dream doing? You know, like, this is weird. And they're like, well, you know, what's the war? And this is like before COVID and all this stuff started kind of happening. I was like, I don't know, man, but it feels like, you know, a war's coming, you know? And I'm definitely like, you know, the sideline person. My buddy calls it like a fence sitter. You're like right in the middle of the fence, you know? Yeah. And you're trying to decide what side you're on. And I like it there, you know, I like being able to kind of play both sides. But in the last year and stuff, you know, I definitely noticed myself kind of choosing a side to be on, you know, and whatever that means, you know. And,
yeah, that's interesting.
Playing my part in these dream experiences. Very, you know, like I would say like, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, I was very materialist, scientist, you know, approach to all these things. And in the last few years, it definitely started shifting from that based on shared dream experiences. Those kind of really pushed me into accepting that dreams are more than just personal psyche experiences. They're shared, and, you know, it's very real in the sense that it exists. So in my perspective anyways, you know, I think, you know, a lot of this stuff, you know, like people are trying to prove things, you know, like in the scientific community, as well as like in the podcast community and stuff like that. They're really trying to find the science and the truth and stuff, you know. They're like, what is this? And maybe not you guys, but you know, everybody, that's why we talk. We want to know things, you know. And what I've realized kind of through these experiences, it's very personal, you know. Like, I'm not going to be able to convince you, I don't think, of these things being real or not. You know, you're going to decide for yourself through experiencing it, I'd say. You know, people could deny the power of psychedelics or something like that until they really try them. And then they're like, whoa, you know, like this is not what I thought.
Yeah. And that goes for UFOs and lucid dreaming and astral travel or OBEs, or, I mean, whatever, Sasquatch. I mean, until you experience it.
Sasquatch.
Well, yeah. I mean, until you know, it's all,
wait. Can you fill us in on your Sasquatch experience?
I haven't experienced
don't deny Sasquatch, man. I'm in near Seattle, so that's a big deal over here, man.
I'm
like Harry and the Hendersons, bro.
Oh yeah.
Can you get lucid whenever you want?
No, I would say that'd be very unhealthy too. But
Would it be
I'm-
addictive?
Why is that? Why is that?
because having the ability to lucid dream consistently is
Tiring?
doesn't. What's that? Say again.
Tiring?
Well, it's tiring, and also it's I would say a scientist at heart, right? Like before all this craziness happened in my life, and so I research sleep a lot, and I have friends that have narcolepsy, and I definitely studied narcolepsy quite a bit, and if you talk to a person that has narcolepsy, they can lucid dream at will. Most of them can.
Wow.
Yeah, like they have so many lucid dreams, it's a problem. They can't stop
that's
it.
so interesting.
Yeah.
I never knew
so
that.
like cataplexy isn't like, if you know what cataplexy is, where the they essentially just hit the ground, right? Like
right.
they have narcolepsy with cataplexy. They're like fully awake and aware, and then suddenly just fall down on the ground, right? Most people think those guys are out, right? Like they're just gone. Well, they're not. They're still conscious, but they're lucid dreaming. They're having sleep paralysis, right? And they can't move. They're paralyzed, but they're hallucinating while being awake, right? So they're lucid dreaming while they're awake. They're in hypnagogia, which is like the in-between state, right?
Yeah.
And it's very uncomfortable to them, and most of them would wish for anything to have that stop.
Holy. Meanwhile,
it's like-
there's a bunch of us lying in bed trying to fucking get into
Just
that
trying to-
state.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Not me.
Well, some blessings are, not blessings for other people.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these things I realize, there's a medium, right? You don't want something all the time. You want to have the experience be special. It happens, sometimes you practice it, you get better at it, and it's not all the time happening uncontrollably, right? Like a person with narcolepsy might have.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be healthy for me to be able to do that. I would actually consider myself getting like a sleep study done to make sure that like something else isn't happening to me, because, like you want to get your sleep cycles when you go to bed and things like that. And, there's not a lot of research associated with lucid dreaming and like how rested people are and things like that. So I think there needs to be more research done on that topic before I could say it's okay or not okay.
How often could you do it if you wanted to then?
When I was very scientific about it and practicing daily, I'd say probably around 10 times a month or something like that.
Oh,
that I would
that's pretty
have
good. That's pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people that are really in the community and don't practice a lot, it's around like 5 to 3 or 4 times a month, on average.
Yeah.
So, but some people are able to do it at will, like my narcoleptic friends and other people that are kind of on the fringe of like mediums and stuff like that. I would say a medium is essentially lucid dreaming all the time, that they're experiencing those things, like they really believe and they see those things, and people would say that they're possibly asleep,
That's really
It's very-
interesting. Yeah.
It's very hard to determine that too. So I do EEGs for a neurologist, and we have patients that come in and I study their EEGs and stuff, and you're trying to watch them to determine if they're asleep or not, and it's very challenging. It's not just like, okay, you're absolutely like boom, you're asleep or anything like that. It's like it's very kind of up for interpretation, as well as like your experience of how long you've seen people have EEGs and stuff. So I had an EEG done on me to determine like what was going on with me. And the person that did it, the person that's been training me, they're like, oh, you were asleep, the whole time. And I was like, no, I wasn't. Like I could hear everything they were doing. I could, open my eyes if I wanted to. They were like, by all, measures, you were asleep. You're absolutely asleep. And I was like, nope. And it was like instant too. I was like, it was like 5 minutes in and I was out, according to them, and I was like, no, I was just super relaxed, but it's hard to know, it's really hard to know. But anyways, long story short, no, I can't lucid dream instantly.
But do you have, so what are the tricks? How do you have a trick to do it? I mean, I can't even remember my dreams, so I'm not,
He's not even close.
maybe I'm not dreaming, or maybe I'm dreaming like a motherfucker and I just can't remember. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes when I do the like back to sleep in the morning thing, I'll sort of remember a dream and I've, bits and pieces here and there.
Right.
That's a method for lucid dreaming and back to bed, wake back to bed method.
I got
think
shit
it's
to do,
called,
man.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I focus on the most easiest and most scientifically proven methods, right? Those are like my go-tos.
Right.
And the wake back to bed method is one of the most effective methods that you can do.
Hand in warm water.
What's that?
Hand in warm water.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing anything crazy.
I wonder, does that work better on the wake back to bed too?
No.
If I catch Graham
there's
trying to
no
lucid
there's no
dream.
hand in water method with wake back to bed, just so you know. But you could do whatever you want, but I'm not doing that one. I've done a lot of crazy shit, with hopefully I can say that on this podcast.
Oh yeah, I
but-
said motherfucker,
Okay.
so we're all
Okay, yeah. You never know with radio and stuff.
you never know.
But I've done some crazy shit with like trying to see what would be most effective with my, dreams, even like sleeping on the floor for like months at a
Oh,
time.
yeah, that's cool.
Months? For months?
Yeah. Just like to see what would happen, like wake up, sit there and meditate on a hard floor, like, sit up straight for like, 45 an hour or whatever, and then see if I could go back to bed, whatever I could do to like find to try to do this, and really what I found is like the most basic methods are sometimes the best. And, like my Buddhist teacher said, keep it simple, stupid, KISS.
Yep.
And so I try to have that as my, my saying now, with these dream experiences. So like the wake back to bed is essentially you go to sleep for a period of time, like 4 to 5 hours. So you feel well rested, and then you wake up, and then you wake up for a period of time, like 30, 60 minutes. I usually do 60 minutes, and then I go back to bed with the intention to have a lucid dream. That's it. And it's very effective. It's so effective that when I was in the military, I would always wake up like 5 a.m. and then go work out for an hour. And then I come home, take a shower, and then lay down to take a nap because I was tired, and I would have like 90% of the time I'd have a lucid dream just from that.
Wow.
And it was so like consistent that I'd be like, I'm guaranteed to have this experience, so I better plan on what I'm going to do when I'm in it. I haven't been effective like that since that time, because I'm not waking my ass up at 5 a.m. going working out for an hour, I'm lazy. So, but I know, I did it since I got out. I was like, well, I'll do it one more time to see, or I really wanted to see if it would work still for me, if it was like something I grow out of. So I went to yoga at like 5 a.m, whatever, did yoga for an hour, and then came home, did the same thing. It worked 100%,
Wow.
But I'm like, I don't want to wake up and go work out, this, there's got to be something better, you know?
Yeah.
And so I kind of, it's easy, it works, but it's a pain in the butt, and nobody likes to work for the shit that they get, including me. So it's like, I'd rather try something else. But that's one of the best methods, is wake back to bed. And then the other one is like the mild technique. It's like Mnemonic induced lucid dreaming, and the name's like really complex, but it just essentially is kind of the same thing as wake back to bed. But there's an interesting like thing in there that most people don't really get with mild. And if you read it on the internet, people leave it out. So this was created by Stephen LeBerg, the same guy you read the book about.
Yep.
And he used this technique to train his people to be able to lucid dream in studies that he was conducting. And it's very effective. And he actually has the data to show how effective it is too. And you can look it up online. But what happens is when you wake up from a dream, he had his subjects recall what the dream was, right? So you're actively remembering what the dream you just had was, if you can remember it, right? And then you imagine that last dream as if you were lucid, right? So say like trying to find a random idea of a dream I could have, but
well, like I had one like the other night where there was a giant in a giant in the room with he was only wearing shorts, and he woke up, and I knew I had to get away, so I tried to run out of the house and try and get away from him, and I couldn't run outside. I was just stuck, and then he came outside, and then I ended up like making friends with them or something like
What do
that.
you
I
look
don't know. But if I was lucid, I would have like done something totally different.
What would you
Yeah.
have done?
So
Fought him?
Maybe pulled out my sword or
Was
something.
he wearing a shirt?
There you go.
He had a sword?
No, I didn't have a sword on me.
Did he?
But I would have manifested a sword or an axe or something.
There
Did he
you
have
go.
a shirt on?
Or to cast a spell or something. I would have done something funky like that.
So,
Funky.
you would, if you woke up from that dream in the middle of the night or something like that, right? You would go, okay, this is what's happening in the dream. I was running from the giant guy. And if I was lucid, I would manifest the sword and then I, kill him or whatever, right? And so you're thinking about that at the same time as you're going back to sleep with the intention that your next dream is going to be lucid. So you're actively thinking about those two things at the same time as you fall asleep. And that should be like the last thing that you think about when you actually fall asleep. So he shows the data on it. It's super effective, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So Wake Back to Bed and that one, the mild, are by all means and statistically shown to be the most effective methods out there. There may be more effective methods out there that I don't know about, and people, can use those or whatever, but I haven't seen any data on them, so I don't really know how effective they are besides people just saying, oh, this is effective for me, and everyone's different. So, you may use a technique that I don't know about or other ones that I do know about, and it may be more effective for you, and you should use that.
And
not what I'm talking about.
And then there's also things that make them more effective, like the training through the day. Like if you continue to say, "Am I dreaming? Am I what? What? Is this all coming back to you
I remember
from the
when you were
hold up?"
like turning on switches.
Yeah, the
and,
light
like,
switching. Exactly. You go into a room, you turn the light switch, and then in your dream, it
reality
won't.
check.
Grabs just shutting
And
off
then
lights at work. Just
then
like,
your
really,
dream-
bro?
Yeah, reality checks are very effective in that sense that they're kind of checking reality to make sure they're not breaking, reality's not breaking, because that happens in a dream. But sometimes what I notice with reality checks is also just doing the reality check also brings lucidity into the dream. So I'll be like, oh, look at my hands. Am I dreaming? Am I dreaming?
Yeah.
And then I go to sleep. And next thing you know, I'm in the dream and I go, I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
I never looked at my hands. I never did any of that stuff. I just go, oh, I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
So the action itself of asking yourself, am I dreaming, and bringing awareness into your daily life, not just your night life, can transfer over into say, am I dreaming,
Yeah.
So dream journaling is also incredibly effective.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I used to try and write them down, but honestly, by the time I try to read my scribbles, and I couldn't get enough of it out, right? I try to write it down, but by the time I've written a sentence, the whole couple paragraphs in my head that I wanted to write about. So I started using the voice notes in the phone and having that having that open so that I just have to get my phone open and then the voice notes is there, click record,
Maria
and
puts
then
up with that?
No, I haven't done it in a while. I'm
Okay.
asking if that's still effective. I used to do that, and I had a whole bunch of cool dreams on my phone. Because even though you're in the sleepy voice, you'd be like, "Yeah, I woke up. The giant woke up. He's chasing me down the hall." You'd say all
Then
that,
you just
right?
hear,
And then-
shut up, go back to bed.
but you think
dream
that's
journaling is-
effective even just by voice instead of the act of writing
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Any recall, you're just trying to recall, right?
Train the recall.
A lot of
and
this
then-
shit's memory based. So my short-term and long-term memory are horrible, right? But the more I work on that, the more I recall my dreams, right? So any type of memory recall of that kind of experience is going to be helpful for you. Even if you did something that was very mundane during the day and try to run through your day and recall it, before going to bed and things like that, those are going to be effective for you and
that's interesting.
ability to
too,
recall, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to improve your memory. And also I would say the ritual associated with writing down your dreams, stuff like that. Your consciousness isn't really just something that just turns off, right? It's constantly watching you. It's constantly aware of the environment. So the more energy you give to something, it's going to really notice the energy that you apply to that thing and make it important, right?
Yes,
So
I totally
if you're
agree with that.
focused on podcasts all the time, right, then your dreams are going to be associated with podcasts and stuff, right? But if you associate yourself with like trying to
Giants.
recall your experiences in life and memories and dreams and stuff like that, and you really spend time and energy in that, then your dreams will like express themselves in that way. It'll kind of meet you halfway, you know, sometimes more so, sometimes it won't meet you even more. So
Wow.
the more energy you put into something, the more you get back from those type of experiences, right?
When I was a
So-
kid, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I don't know if you guys are cannabis users or either.
Well,
I
anything
smoke
that,
weed
but-
like a motherfucker. I'm high right
Yeah.
now. So I was going to get to that question next. But when I was a kid, I used to
And
get
I
lucid once in a while. You know, every time when it was, is I'd dream I was peeing.
Oh, interesting.
And I'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's not.
And then I'd
that might
wake
not
up and I'd be
man.
peeing in the bed every fucking time. When I was
That's
a kid.
why you don't dream anymore, because you got trauma from peeing in your
Yeah,
bed.
I
got
dude.
trauma.
Pee in the bed again.
So now I don't dream and I don't get, I mean, I get odd little glimpses. Is that from smoking weed?
Yeah, cannabis. I mean, I use cannabis too because I get headaches and stuff. So I use cannabis, and if I'm going to use cannabis, I pretty much can guarantee I won't recall nearly as many dreams. You know, like if you took a break from cannabis, you're going to get like a sudden large dump of dreams, right? Shortly after. And I'm not sure if you've ever taken a break or not, but
How long of a break? Like a couple of hours? Or?
a couple days, you know, like a day or two. No.
I'll see what I can. Well, not in a while.
I've been trying to
Yeah.
get him to do that for dreaming.
Not for
Lucid dreaming.
years. Years ago, when I was on harder stuff, I used to take breaks all the time. Now I just smoke
Yeah.
my weed and that's it. Live my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I could.
I don't think
probably
there's
take a
anything
break.
wrong with that, but the problem is you're just not going to have the recall that you generally get. The dreams are still happening. Like, there's a doctor on Joe Rogan that was talking about dreams and stuff like that. And he was saying something about cannabis, and he was like saying all the shit about cannabis about like it stopping REM, essentially like completely reducing REM to zero. And I was like, no, that is an absolute false statement, because it doesn't. REM never stops. If you stopped having REM in your sleep, you go insane. Like you start hallucinating while you're awake. That's how the brain works. So like cannabis, I still get dreams, right? But they're harder to recall. So I'm still dreaming every single night. They're just harder to recall. And so if you can't stop using cannabis, you can start working on recalling things better. And one thing I thought about cannabis that is kind of cool is it's kind of a memory improvement drug in a way. Like even though it makes you forget shit, right? But like if you could use it as a tool, right? You could use it, and then while you're intoxicated or high, you could recall things throughout your day, right? And improve your memory. And then when you sober up, that muscle, I think memory works like a lot like a muscle. So you're like putting the weights on, right? And you're just like lifting all this heavy weight with your memory. And then when you're sober, like your memory's just like boom, So
Fuck yeah, use it as a performance enhancer for memory.
yeah,
I'm pretty
I think-
enhanced already. I don't want to tip the scales too
I
much.
mean, I know a lot of people that are really good, taking tests and recalling shit that were stoners when I was a kid. I never used weed or anything, but these people are like sometimes like superhuman in like the amount of shit they recall, when they're sober, and it's like, how are you doing this? I can't remember anything. And they're like, dude, I just smoke weed, man. I'm always high. And I'm like, what? Like, how does these two things make sense? They're like idiots, but at the same time, they're like smart, it's like, what is happening? So I think a lot of it's associated with this, memory muscle almost, that you're able to like, kind of work it out. Another thing about cannabis, like most people don't probably know, is it's like really good for Alzheimer's and stuff like that. So people with dementia, like cannabis users, probably have a much lower chance of getting dementia, which is related to memory, obviously, and stuff like that. So that's a plus, right?
Yeah.
So
Totally. Dementia is the #1 killer in Alberta.
Wow.
oh
So have you experienced sleep
Other than
paralysis
COVID,
at all?
of course.
Other than COVID, yeah. It used to be
Used to be dementia.
Now it's
yeah, now it's COVID.
COVID / dementia.
Probably a mixture, right?
Yeah.
Comanche.
I one thing that people really don't really talk about is sleep paralysis. I wrote about it in my book too, because I felt like it would be unjust for me to warn people of these experiences, because oftentimes they're pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
They could be terrifying if you don't know what the hell's going on, and they can be terrifying regardless, but it at least helps you a little bit if you kind of know like what's happening, what you may encounter, and how to kind of overcome that a little bit. So I have had sleep paralysis, and my sleep paralysis, my first experience of sleep paralysis led into me having out of body experiences. So, there's some positive that can come out of that, right? And
is that like trying to disassociate from the trauma kind of thing, or?
I think if you've ever read into like God, who is the guy name? There, my memory goes again, man. If you try to, Rudolph Steiner,
yeah,
there he is.
Right.
If you're into Rudolph Steiner's work, he talks about the guardian and the gateway, or the threshold, the guardian of the threshold, and I think his idea associated with that probably is, to me, the best one, is that it's not so much the trauma that is the experience of going, having you have these out of body experiences, even though like sometimes it's associated with that, but seemingly anyways, the experience of working through a terrifying experience is actually what brings awareness to it and allows you to have these unique experiences versus the trauma. So trauma is like, I've noticed, as well as some other people have noticed, that trauma is associated with having out of body experiences, right? Like in lucid dreams, oftentimes people, or even alien abductions and stuff, like the trauma is associated with these people, and you're trying to like figure out why. But a lot of these people have worked through their trauma too. Like it's not so much the trauma itself, it's allowing them to have these experiences. Those people have had trauma and then they've worked on it to the point that they're like okay with the trauma, to the point that they're normalish, So like I grew up in a pretty traumatic experience with my dad, and I think through working through that, it kind of allowed me to start having these experiences, because it's like a higher level of awareness, right? You if you can see trauma for what it is, and pain and suffering and stuff like that for what it is, and you can kind of work with it as like almost like a force versus like this hard thing that is never really going to move, and like you're just stuck in it, forever. If you can work through that, then you can kind of see like reality and like these experiences for what they are. And I think bringing in that awareness kind of gets you to a different maybe level or something, or be able to see a little bit through the veil that other people can't see,
Yeah.
So the sleep paralysis experience that I had was very traumatic, but when I finally worked through it, that's when the gateway opened up,
Wow.
like I was able to have these experiences, and it didn't stop, like the sleep paralysis continued over and over and over again in different forms, as well as like the beings and characters and the encounters that I had in the paralysis.
Wow.
They changed, and they sometimes were more traumatic, you could say, in some ways. But through engaging with that, and not like the first time that I worked through that, I brought that with me, right? It wasn't like starting over. It was like, now I stepped up a step, and I'm stepping and I'm stepping, and I'm getting to higher points of like experience, right? Like the trauma is kind of building, but it's not so hard now, I'm working through it. And as I engage with those experiences, I'm able to not suffer as much, and then pass on to another experience, So I don't necessarily see those experiences as like, I don't know how to describe it. I would say those experiences are more like training situations almost, versus like real traumatic things, right? And I would almost say that physical reality is the same way. Like, even though, some people really suffer a lot, and that's hard for me to like justify it through me just saying, hey dude, you got to work through it, you know, like, I'm sorry your whole family died, you know, but you got to just work through it, you know. That's not for me to say for them, right? That's their experience that they can engage with and figure out themselves how they're going to work with that, right? But for every experience that I've ever had in my personal life that have been traumatic or whatever, if I can look at those things as learning experiences for me to pass on through and to grow from, then they lead to something else, right? And, you know, I tend to think that these things are all interconnected in a way, like the dream world is interconnected to reality, and they're kind of, they have the same symbols and the same structure and the same, you know, themes and stuff like that. So you can kind of like see one for the other, you know, like the dream world operates like this, and it's kind of like a analogy of the waking world, you know, like you could say like the Matrix movie is like kind of an analogy for our reality in a way. You know, a lot of people do that. They bring up the Matrix. They're like, oh, we're in a simulation, man, you know, stuff like that. And I'd say, yeah, it's a you know, it's a metaphor for reality, right? It doesn't mean that it's like that, but it's a metaphor. And the same thing goes for a dream world. It's like, these are metaphorical experiences of waking reality. So you can see the connection and work through it and work with it, you know?
Yeah.
It's all about like bringing awareness to your life, you know?
Yeah. So what about some of your UFO experiences then? Did they overlap with the dreams in the military? Was that like legit military UFO experiences or?
Yeah. I mean, I had a UFO experience before I was in the military as a kid with a friend. He saw it too. And the interesting part about that was that I imagined it was late at night and I was sleeping outside, and I imagined an airplane hitting my house before it happened.
Oh, wow.
And it just like an image appeared in my mind that this, you know, it's like a 737 or whatever just smacked into my house and it blew up to pieces. And I was like, you know, just sitting there, I was like, wow, that's a weird idea, you know? And it was like out of the blue, you know, you probably get those images sometimes when you're getting ready to sleep, wherever you're like, whoa, what was that? And so it's kind of like that. And, so I'm sitting there thinking about this airplane hitting my house, and then I look in the distance and there's like a light, you know, and I'm like, oh, you know, it's probably an airplane because I lived kind of near an airport. And so I'm watching this light and it get closer and closer to my house. And I'm like, oh, you know, that's a little closer than normal, and keeps on coming. And I'm like, all right, getting a little worried now, you know. I'm like, was my dream, you know, trying to tell me that an airplane's going to hit my house? You know, I'm like starting to think about that, and keeps getting closer. And I'm like, okay, you know. And I got to a point where it was getting so close that like I became paralyzed, right? Like I didn't really associate like the paralysis that I maybe was even in, but I became paralyzed with fear that I couldn't even get up and tell my parents, you know, like this thing, I'm like, I dreamed this and now it's happening in front of me and I can't do anything about it because I can't move, you know, I'm so scared. And it lasted for a couple seconds, and then, you know, I kind of came to and I see this light, I'm still looking at it, and then it takes off straight up in the air, like straight up. And it went so fast and so far that it curved over the horizon. And so the summer, like that summer, it was summertime. And that summer I went to Florida and watched a space shuttle take off, and it did the exact same thing. You know, the space shuttle took off, and then you could watch it curve over the horizon, you know, and then it disappears, and you're like, all right, it's in space now, you know. And this UFO did the exact same thing. One thing though, it didn't make a sound. It was completely silent, and it didn't have any type of fire coming out of it. You know, like the space shuttle looks like a candlestick.
Yeah,
you know, it's loud and like, and it was further away from me than this orb thing was, right? And this light. And so like I'm like, whoa, what was that? You know, and I'm sitting there, and my friend was outside with me. You know, he's asleep, I thought, and I'm like, well, I'm not telling him what I just saw, you know, like he's going to think I'm crazy. And then he's like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, dude, I don't know, man. And so, you know, fast forward like 20 years, And I reached out to him, you know, I was like, I hadn't talked to him since, really. And I'm like, hey, dude, you remember that shit? You know, because like, you guys know my memory's trash essentially. So I wanted to like verify what the hell I saw. And he's like, yeah, that was the most profound thing he's ever seen in his life to date, you know? And I'm like, damn, man. So, you know, I didn't really talk about it after for, you know, until like maybe a couple of years ago. I didn't really think it was very important to people. For some reason, you know, like you kind of just, I don't know, you kind of forget about things. You don't really talk about weird experiences like that. And, you know, I kind of thought about that, and it's like the association with the imagination and this experience that I had with this UFO object, you know, and like maybe that somehow is connected together, and then dreams too, you know, and I'm not really sure, you know, I can't really put those things together completely, but I know that they operate on the same thing, you know, like I dreamed something was coming into, you know, into my reality. It was going to interact with me in some way. My imagination put the image of an airplane, you know, hitting my house, very traumatic experience, you know, and that UFO, even though like it was only a couple seconds really, or a couple minutes, I guess, happened, you know, it's like it changed my life, you know, but in a way that was different than normal things. Most things that are life changing, you talk about, you're like, oh my God, you know, these things have changed my life completely. So fast forward, you know, I'm in the military, and it's actually, you know, I wish I had dates and stuff, you know, of everything that has happened in me during that time, but it's probably associated. It's about the same time I started having sleep paralysis too. But I was in Virginia, and I'm on the military base there in Oceana, which is like an F-18 squadron, like a big F-18 place, right? They have a bunch of jets there, and I go inside. I'm a electrician, so I work on airplanes at that time. And I go inside to get some tools, and I come out, and like all my buddies are like, "Dude, did you see that?" And I was like, "See what?" You know? And they're like, "Oh, this airplane flew over the base, and it landed in the trees." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, I didn't." All these guys are like pilots themselves, right? And like they're pilots, or they work on planes, or they fly for commercial airliners and stuff. And they're like, "Yeah, it didn't have FAA lights on, and it landed in the trees. And like, there's no runway there. There's no nothing in those trees, right?" And I was like, "That's fucking weird, dude," you know? And they're like, "Yeah, it's crazy." And there's probably like 15 people out there that saw this thing. They're all talking about it, you know? And I'm like, all right. And also like, so it's New Year's Eve. And so the base is completely shut down. I work night shifts, so it's probably like 1 to 2 in the morning at this point. And it's flooded too. The whole entire base is flooded out. I had to take my boots off and roll up my pants to get through to work because it was so flooded out. I couldn't even drive my car there. So no one's on this base besides these like guys with me, right? And like a gate guard. And so I'm like, well, that was weird. So I didn't see it, and I'm, you know, we're done for the night. We're packing up and stuff. We're walking out, and this gate guard, he's like, "Yeah, I saw the UFO, you know, and all this stuff." And he's just like some young guy that's like, he's just, you know, some MP guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw the UFO, man. I saw it fly over," and everyone's talking about it. And he's like, "What the hell's that?" And he's like, puts his finger up, you know. We're like, and I look up, and it was this giant thing, dude. I don't even like. I try to describe to people what it was. I describe it as like a giant trash bag, right? But it was a semi-translucent object that had to be at least you know, a mile, if not 2 miles in diameter. It was as big as the base. Like it was slowly floating over the base. It was enormous, like huge, and it was so big that you could see like the base lights. Like the base is still lit, and it was shining lights up on this object, and it was reflecting off into the sky, like as if you had like church lights on it, you know. And you're just like, it was massive. And I was just like, what the hell is that? You know, we're just watching this thing, and it's just slowly floating over this base, and then it just eventually, you know, it just disappeared. You know, it kept going, and I was like, I don't know what to do. You know, like
Silent?
I don't know what to do about that.
Silent?
Yeah, completely silent. No sound,
right?
nothing.
No sound.
And I was like, all right. And then I got my car, and drove home, went to sleep, and came back the next day, and nobody even talked about it. Like,
Fuck,
no one
crazy,
mentioned it.
No
like,
missing
I
time.
didn't think about it.
Yeah.
What's that?
No missing time or anything like that?
Nothing that I could think of,
Jeez.
and just nobody thought about it. No one cared,
What base was that at?
It was in Oceana in Virginia.
Oh, wow. Jeez,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Virginia, baby.
I love those sightings of the massive, like, you don't hear that many of them that see the mass, like there's the big black triangles and some of those ones, but to see those massive, like, city-sized ones is
Right.
That's incredible.
Swamp gas.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are like, oh, these are drones, and all this stuff. It's like, okay, like the little object, it could be a drone, maybe, whatever. I'll give them that, but it's like, no, like no one's building a mile diameter aircraft floating around, and like nobody sees it, it's like, no, like that's not possible, man. Like if that thing landed like in a city or something, it would cover the city. Like if it was a trash bag that it kind of looked like, it'd cover the entire city of Virginia, like, or not Virginia, Virginia Beach, like the whole entire city would be covered. It's like, it's not an accident, like, but it was just, I didn't really think about it after that, for a long time too. It's just like, these things are so massive in your mind, you just can't really comprehend them, It's not something you can really have a conversation with people and be like, yeah, like I just saw this thing, and they're like, okay, what do I do with that,
Yeah, and I'm like you, I'm on the fence about all that stuff. Like I had a crazy sighting too, and I don't know if it was ET or secret space program or high black project stuff. I don't even know. It could be anything. I don't know.
I don't know. I've definitely seen like I've had alien encounters in my sleep paralysis, orb encounters in my sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
And I've read studies on people that have had they continually get abducted, and they go into sleep labs and they study them why the abductions are happening. They say, well, you're in sleep paralysis. That's why you feel like you're abducted. Like it matches pretty accurately to them not being able to move. And then like they're visited by some weird thing and then they have all this stuff happen to them. And it's like, yeah, like I would have an alien abduction, type dream. And I'd be like, oh, like I was in sleep paralysis. So it's just me dreaming it, I'm hallucinating this experience, but anymore, I'm like, oh, like I kind of go back through that. I'm like, oh, maybe there's more to that, like
exactly.
Maybe that is actually some type of being or something like doing something to me. There's a book by Eliot. It's called Shamanism, Ecstasy, I think, or ecstatic. Anyways, I think it's a well done book on cross-cultural shamanistic type experiences and initiations. And there's a chapter in chapter 4, it talks about these initiation experiences through cross-cultural experiences. And he goes into these similarities essentially between all these different cultures that he studied. And a lot of them talk about like abduction experiences in sleep, and out of body experiences essentially where they're either taken up or dragged down to the ground, and into the earth, and then they're taken apart and put stuff into them, and then they're reassembled, and then they come back as a shaman, And I've read many people's cases on sleep paralysis in like public forums and stuff, and many of them speak about the exact same thing, where they have these sleep paralysis type experiences. They're reassembled and then or taken apart, reassembled with stuff in them, and sometimes they're alien-like and sometimes they're not. So
yeah, I often wonder if those experiences are colored by our awareness of what the latest kind of cultural thing is. Like in the past, it might have been, although some people still have like shadow man encounters or demonic sort of things, but it feels like it was a religious thing. And then now, and there's the little fairies and there's the whole like sort of more fantasy kind of realm of that. And then the old hags and now it's kind of ET, almost because we're sort of more modern and technologically advanced. It's like our consciousness goes to like, somehow our consciousness is playing a role in that. And that being, or that, maybe if it is a being, it's coming up in different forms, depending on what our fears are, what our fears are, or what our culture says is possible, or who knows.
Yeah, I mean, turn it back into like dreams. I think UFO experiences and shamanistic initiations are associated with dream experiences too, and that's not to discredit them at all. I think that they're very real. I think they're more real sometimes than even what we call reality. But in these experiences, I think what I've noticed in my experiences, as well as other people's experience, that I've asked them to do certain experiments in lucid dreams and stuff, we started noticing patterns, like a structural type pattern to these things. And it kind of reminds me of like an analogy of building a house, right? Like there's a structure, the wood structure and everything, the foundation, it's all there, but then you put like a wallpaper, you put wallpaper on the house, like the interior, to make it look different, right? And I think a lot of dream images are wallpaper on our experiences, right? But deep down inside, the structure is all the same. We're seeing the same thing, or we're experiencing the same thing, but it's presented to us in a way that makes sense to us. So like, people will be like, well, you're dreaming about the things that you're doing throughout the day. It's like, absolutely I am, that would make sense. But it's the dream meeting me. It's saying, hey, here's an image that it seems that you're relating this to your life. It's important to you. And I will present you this image with its underlying structure of this. So you're getting the message, So it's like, if it was an alien technology, that'd probably be the best way to communicate, right? There was the movie Arrival is a very good, I think it's very well done for like, if you look at it from a dream perspective and symbols and images and stuff, she's having memories that haven't happened to her, and they also talk about like the language and the symbols that they're using and how she's engaging with these symbols, and it's changing her reality. And she mentions that in the movie. And if you kind of look at that as a dream experiences, it kind of opens up this realm a little bit to be like, yeah, okay, these symbols are more than just like an image. They're actually a way of living and being. And if I engage with them, they'll change how I see things, change my actual world around me. So I think dreams do have structure to them in that sense, and so do like the alien encounters and all that stuff. I think they're very structured, and there's commonalities. And if we look at those commonalities and those structures, we'll learn something very profound, I think.
Yeah. Have you talked to any of those guys from your base at all on that experience since then? And when was that one? How long ago was that?
That was around 2006, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
I really haven't. I don't recall who was there. Like that night. Maybe one guy I could ask him. I think he was around, but it was so weird. Like we just didn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
It was like just kind of forgotten about. And I noticed that between those two encounters, I don't think a lot of people have multiple UFO encounters, but from other people's experiences, I've heard that kind of a loss of time, a loss of that memory, and memory is a really interesting thing, like trying to remember something from 2006 as if it was today is a very challenging thing. It's hard enough for me to remember yesterday as if it was today,
Yeah.
And the things that change in those memories too, it's like a living memory, right? So my experiences in life and stuff infect almost that memory and change it into something that it wasn't. So it's hard to recall, it may be even almost impossible for some of those people to recall what they experienced.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Mine was burned in my, I feel like I burned it in when it happened. I was like just burning it into my mind, and my memory is more about what I burned into my mind than the actual event in a way, I have a narrative around what happened, and that's just seems to me it's always stayed the same, but I think it could be, maybe it is a little fluid, depending on how I tell it or how I remember it. And I contacted friends about it. And and they didn't even, the two Kiwi girls, and they're like, it's just I chalked it up to too much beer or something. But I can't get a hold of the guy from the UK who was with me when it happened, and him and I definitely talked a lot about it. I mean, we told our kibbutz, one of our bosses on the Israeli kibbutz about it, and he's just laughing at us all. UFOs aren't real, and we're like, we saw it ourselves, and so, anyways.
Yeah, I think it's funny that people try to. There's still debate about UFOs.
I know.
I don't understand that. I mean, I was in the military. I was on the Nimitz. Not during the time that those events happened, but I know those types of people. Like F-18 pilots. They're essentially 20 years in. They know how to fly planes. They know the systems very well. I know like the chiefs. Like the guy that was he was operating the radar system, the Aegis radar system on the cruiser. I know those people. I have friends that operated those ships. They know the systems very well, and there's no way that like those people are just all lying, or don't know what they're talking about. It's like, you guys are ridiculous. So I don't, it's like, again, for me, it's not I'm not debating with those people. It's like, I don't have anything to prove to those people about what I experienced. I don't have anything to prove about my dream experience. There's still people that debate about lucid dreams and if people can even have them, or if dreams are just random noise. It's like, I'm not here to prove that to you.
That's exactly
your
where,
job, dude.
That's exactly where we ended up, or at least I did in the show. Is like, I've experienced enough things and talked to enough people that have experienced things. Like, I'm not trying to prove to anybody. There's evidence. If you want to look for it, there's evidence all over the place for this stuff. Make up your own mind after you do.
I was into proving stuff too, big time. So I understand where they're coming from, but it's like, you get to a point and you're like, okay, I either have to accept this as real, or I just have to live in an illusion. I
wonder if that was the battle that you had to. I wonder if it was a spiritual battle. Like, it was like, you got to join the side of like open-minded kind of inquiry.
I absolutely agree that was part of it. I personally don't think that things just operate on one level, So like, that, what you're talking about operates all the way down, like the Buddhists would say, it's like turtles all the way down, and it's like, it's because it affects everything. It's all the way down. So once you kind of cross over that line of seeing things in a different way, it's not just going to affect your, like, the spiritual battle you talk about. It's like all the way down into every part of your being, you know? And so it's a massive shift in perspective. I see the importance of both sides, as a fence sitter, right? And so I can see a little bit of both sides, and I definitely lean to one side more than the other still, and I struggle with that. But at the same time, I see that, it's for me to accept and explore, about my dreams. I'm not interested in proving anything really anymore. I'm more interested in understanding, and learning and being like, in listening versus like telling, how it is. So,
Yeah, I get it. Hey, we should probably get it wrapped up here, eh, Darren? Do you have any other questions or?
No, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we all kind of had to have a bit of a stop here. So what do you got going on next? I mean, what as far as in this sort of category of interesting things?
Well, right now, just my book is being released in May, on May 4th. So
it's not even out yet.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you. I didn't pick that day, so my publisher picked that day randomly, I guess, supposedly randomly. So that's the main thing.
Can people pre-order it at all, or can people?
What's that?
Can people pre-order it at all? Yeah.
They can go to luciddreambook.com or Taileaters.com. Taileaters is a little bit harder to remember.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes either way.
Yeah, so they can go to either of those. I'll send you guys the link, and they can pre-order off my website, off of Amazon, or off the publisher's site. And if they pre-order off my website, they get like a necklace I made for the book and some other stuff.
Let me guess, cool. In the shape of a tail-eater or a boros?
Yeah, it's actually, it's pretty cool, man. Yeah. So I designed it myself and everything.
Cool.
And so I give it to people. I don't sell that really. I give it to people that have helped me. So I consider people that pre-order my book kind of helping me out, Yeah, so I give it to people that help me. And so you can't like buy my necklace, So it's a little special, I think.
Cool.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm working on right now. I work with people online and talk about like symbols and like kind of the occult stuff and like religion and spiritual stuff, and kind of still trying to figure it out with them. They're really great people. It's a super small group, but they seem to be pretty cool. And you can join those groups by just going to my website and go to discussions. There's like 4 different groups in there that you can join and talk with some pretty experienced people, especially on the Facebook page. Like there's about 600 people in there, and I personally added a lot of those people in there. They're people that I really truly believe that are really capable of having lucid dream experiences. They're not just like random people, you know. And so they're great. But really, you know, like most of my focus is just kind of on my own personal experiences and trying to work with them anymore, versus like trying to research and know things and
cool.
tell people what I think, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't have an intention to write another book or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
no, that's great, man. I mean, this has been a blast. It's flown by, and it's just super interesting topics. And man, we should do it again and get into some of the occult and symbolism about other things. And I mean,
yeah,
we could go on for a long
to talk
time.
about that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's been great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll put links in the show notes and stuff, and we'll keep in touch.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, buddy.
You have a great
Okay,
day.
man.
You guys
Have a good night.
Bye. Night. Bye.
And that was a chat. What'd you think, buddy?
Oh, dude, we didn't even have time to get into the lucid dreaming supplements and how to get yourself out of sleep paralysis. I mean, this is one of those shows I had a million questions still at the
Do the
end.
lucid dreaming
And I went for
supplements
like
work?
almost an hour. Yeah, I had a couple crazy dreams the other night.
Oh, they're working for you now?
Yeah, well, I just tried. We had this guy scheduled for a while, and then I thought I'd try some of the lucid dreaming supplements.
So you got lucid, or you just had a dream?
I had a little bit crazy dreams, yeah, a couple of times. Yeah.
Well, that's a crazy dream, or you were lucid?
No, but sometimes I'm kind of lucid, but I don't really get lucid. I just sort of watch it happen.
Can you be kind of lucid?
Yeah, you can be semi-lucid. I think that's
Can
my
you?
yeah. You just let it go. You don't want to control anything. You're there to watch. Like he kind of like.
So you know you're dreaming though?
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Sometimes I just like the adventure.
Hmm.
It's a big adventure. Sometimes they're huge, dude. They go on forever. Like it feels like days.
I think you've been playing too much Dungeons and Dragons.
Too much podcasting about giants.
What's his website called again?
Taileaters.com.
That's his main website?
Yeah.
That's where the link to the Facebook page and all that stuff is?
You bet. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. Taileaters.com/discussion.
Perfect.
I'll put all that in the show notes. It was fun, man. I'd like to, see if he's going to put this out in audiobook.
First, it's got to come out as a book, I guess. Let it come out as a book first.
Yeah.
Did you read it already, though?
I did. Yeah, it was fantastic.
So you got a
it was
pre-order?
It was honestly a really no. He sent me the PDF. Actually, do you know it was like the original books that we read on Lucid Dreaming, but it was way better, way deeper. It was like a super deep,
Who was it?
condensed.
Robert
or not
Wagner
condensed.
back
Yeah,
in the
Robert
day?
Wagner and Stephen LaBerge. Yeah.
We had Stephen LaBerge?
No,
on?
but
I don't remember that.
his book was based on his book.
I remember
Yeah.
Wagner coming
Wagner
on.
came on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, big thanks to Lee for coming on the show. Check out his stuff. Pre-order his book. Get the cool necklace. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks. You happen to be a supporter. If you want that, even bigger thanks because you don't have it yet. Head over to grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation. You can do all the stuff in the newsletter, Spamgram. Check out Rockfin. All that wonderful stuff. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
5 pink flamingos and a few flamenco dancers. They're in the kitchen and they're baking Day of the Dead cookies. And I step into the kitchen and I'm like, let me have a lookie, see what kind of cookie you're cooking up. And they're looking up at me skeptical, and I Poindex to my spectacles. And I'm wearing a maroon Harvard t-shirt. Yeah, I know I'm a smart cookie, but I'm no psychic. You can come and ring my bell, but where we're gonna end up in the future, I can never tell. I can never tell. 5 of my best friends and a few of my enemies. We're at the coffee shop and we're settling our differences. Benjamin Otto pulls out a game of Chinese checkers and he orders a cappuccino. And I pick blue and he picks red and you pick yellow. And I'm wearing a tie-dye peace sign t-shirt. Yeah, I know I'm a peacenik, but I ain't no hypocrite. You can come and ring my bell, but where we're gonna end up in the future, I can never tell. I can never tell. One bell, one man, and with my sense of smell I can smell the salt in your tears, and I can sense your fears. You're hoping for a bit of divinity in this worldly vicinity, and you understand the fragility of the human vessel. And you sit Indian style like a pretzel. And you levitate to a transcendental state when you meditate. And you levitate to a transcendental state when you meditate. And you levitate to a transcendental state when you